map. The live feed cut to static. Operators attempted 3 radio checks, all unanswered. When the signal finally returned, the van was still on the correct route, maintaining speed, showing no signs of an unscheduled stop. No braking, no deviation, no alerts. A senior officer staring at the recovered telemetry muttered the line that would define the investigation. GPS down, cameras down, all at the same time. That doesn't happen by chance. 40 minutes later, the first public disturbance was reported in Birmingham, the second in Manchester, and within hours, a secret transfer that was meant to avoid attention had instead ignited the largest political crisis of the season. The news did not break slowly. It detonated. At 6:28 p.m., barely 40 minutes after the disappearance was confirmed internally, the first leak hit a Birmingham community forum. 18 high-risk migrants vanished during a government transfer. Within 3 minutes, the post reached 12,000 views. Within 6, it jumped onto Telegram groups already agitated by weeks of tension. By the 10th minute, hundreds were gathering near the high street under a sky turning violently orange with flare smoke. No statement from the Home Office. No explanation from Starmer's team. Only silence. And in that silence, rumors grew teeth. By 7:04 p.m., the first clash erupted outside a migrant reception center in Birmingham. A group of men attempted to breach the metal gate, shoving against the riot shields of a police line, clearly unprepared for the scale of anger. Someone hurled a flare. Someone else kicked down a crowd control barrier. The thin blue line bent, then buckled as more people poured in from the side streets. Manchester ignited minutes later. A viral tweet, 5 words, all capitalized. "Where are the 18 now?" spread across the city like a match dropped into dry grass. In Piccadilly Gardens, people surged forward in waves, chanting, shouting, demanding answers. A lone police car trying to pass through was forced to retreat when a wall of protesters surrounded it, slamming fists against the bonnet. By 8 p.m., the authorities estimated that more than 78,000 people had taken to the streets across both cities, a scale unseen since the 2011 riots, and fueled this time not by economic frustration, but by fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of what the government was hiding. Fear that the disappearance of 18 dangerous individuals was not an accident, but an act of negligence. Then came the blow that turned panic into fury. A local Birmingham news outlet confirmed that 4 children were injured in an attack earlier that afternoon. An attack now linked to one of the missing 18. The moment that headline hit the airwaves, the atmosphere changed. Fear hardened into rage. Rage turned into momentum. Momentum transformed into chaos. The footage from the ground told the story better than any commentary. Men pushing against riot shields, women screaming at officers, metal fences rattling like percussion instruments in a rising storm. A flare hitting the wall of a reception center and exploding in a shower of red sparks. A line of officers stumbling backward as dozens pressed forward, roaring in unison. In Manchester, the scenes were even more cinematic. From the top deck of a passing bus, live streamers captured hundreds streaming down Market Street, faces glowing in the red haze of smoke grenades, some carrying placards hastily scribbled with messages like, "Star hid them." No control, no trust. Who let them out? Police reinforcements arrived, but even with vans, shields, and helmets, the force looked tiny against the surging mass. A barricade was torn from its hinges. A shop front window shattered. A police officer slipped and was pulled back by colleagues just seconds before being swallowed by the crowd. By 9 p.m., the situation was no longer described as disturbances. It was officially classified as a multi-city riot. Emergency riot code was activated, the first time in more than a decade. Helicopters thundered above Birmingham. A line of mounted police attempted to clear a path in Manchester, but the horses reared against the fireworks exploding near their feet. At the command center, the tone had shifted from alarm to dread. Every live feed showed pressure rising. Every report repeated the same 3 questions. Where are the 18? How did they vanish? Who authorized the blackout? And then came the leak that transformed a political problem into a government emergency. A screenshot from an internal Home Office message channel surfaced online. It contains just one line. Quiet transfer approved. Keep this tight until we confirm the location. Thousands saw it within seconds. Millions within minutes. The idea that Starmer had not only lost control of the situation, but had tried to suppress it, became the accelerant no one could extinguish. The streets responded instantly. Protesters in Birmingham formed human chains blocking police vans. Manchester's crowd swelled again, pushing officers back towards the tram line. Metallic booms echoed between buildings, bin lids hitting the pavement, barricades slamming against riot shields. A masked group ignited a wheelie bin and rolled it towards a police cordon, forcing officers to scatter. And above it all, the chants grew louder. You hid them. We demand answers. Stera must speak. By 10:11 p.m., even senior police commanders admitted privately, we're losing both cities. If this carries on past midnight, containment becomes impossible. When the Prime Minister's office finally released its first statement, the streets had already decided the narrative. The government was not in control. The system had failed, and the disappearance of 18 high-risk individuals was no longer just a scandal. It was a symbol of something deeply broken. From this moment on, Starmer no longer controlled the story. The streets did. Inside Whitehall, the atmosphere had curdled into something close to paralysis. By the time the riots reached their peak, Starmer had already been rushed into a secured conference room, flanked by exhausted advisors who looked less like strategists and more like people bracing for impact. No one dared use the word disappearance. The official line, repeated like a mantra, was an operational discrepancy, a phrase so vague it bordered on meaningless, but the attempt to manage language only deepened the crisis. The first briefing began with a Home Office official presenting the updated situation report. His hands shook slightly as he read it aloud. Birmingham escalated, Manchester volatile, riot code active, containment uncertain. Starmer cut in sharply. What are we dealing with exactly? No one answered immediately. One advisor attempted to float a technical explanation. GPS malfunction, camera glitch, but a senior security officer snapped back. Prime Minister, both systems failed at the same time. That does not happen without intervention. The tension sharpened. Another advisor slammed her palm onto the table. We must tell the public the truth. They know something is being hidden. Look outside. This isn't going away. She was quickly ushered aside by staff, but her words hung in the room like smoke. Meanwhile, the Home Office communications team scrambled to produce a public statement, attempting to shift blame onto unexpected technical errors. The moment the message hit social media, the backlash was immediate and brutal. Comments poured in accusing the government of gaslighting the public. Analysts on live TV called the explanation insultingly thin. At police headquarters, things were no better. Commanders warned the officers were overstretched and reaching exhaustion. If this continues past midnight, one senior chief told Number 10, we'll lose full control of the streets. Starmer's face tightened as he absorbed the updates. Every path forward seemed dangerous. Silence fueled anger. Honesty risked collapse. He was no longer leading the situation. He was chasing it. By the end of the hour, the truth in the room was undeniable. The government wasn't responding to a crisis. It was scrambling behind one. If the government was panicking behind closed doors, the public was erupting in the open. By dawn, the UK had split into two furious camps. On one side were thousands demanding that the government take immediate, uncompromising action: deportations, arrests, a full crackdown on dangerous migrant networks. On the other side were voices accusing Downing Street of weaponizing secrecy, deliberately withholding information to manipulate the narrative. The disappearance of the 18 had become more than a security failure. It had become a symbol of mistrust. Social media turned into a digital battlefield. The hashtag #WhereAreThe18 dominated UK trends, amassing millions of posts within hours. Threads dissected the GPS blackout, camera failures, and the Home Office's vague statements like forensic reports. Memes mocking the technical glitch explanation flooded the timeline. Then came the interviews. The parents of the 4 injured children appeared on morning television, their voices shaking as they described the attack. One father stared straight into the camera and said, "If the government had not hidden this transfer, my daughter would be safe today." The clip was shared more than 14 million times before noon. Anger crystallized into something sharper: blame. Counter-protesters also emerged, claiming the riots were being fueled by misinformation and xenophobia, but their voices were quickly drowned out by the momentum of the street. Outside Parliament, demonstrators clashed verbally with police, shouting slogans that cut through the cold air. No control, no confidence. We demand answers. Star must speak. Inside the Commons, MPs were turning on each other. A heated exchange broke out after one opposition member held up a printed screenshot of the leaked Home Office. "This proves they knew," he shouted. They knew, and they hid it from the British public. International media joined the frenzy, describing the UK as a nation reeling from secrecy and a government losing the confidence of its streets. By midday, the narrative had slipped entirely from official hands. Every broadcast, every tweet, every chant on the pavement reinforced the same conclusion. This was no longer about 18 missing individuals. This was about a government whose silence had become deafening. As the riot footage looped endlessly across national screens, analysts from every corner of the political landscape began converging on a single uncomfortable conclusion. The crisis had not exploded because the 18 vanished, but because of how the disappearance was handled. A senior security commentator on BBC News framed it bluntly. "The quiet transfer is not a security strategy. It's a secrecy strategy." He was not alone. Experts dissected the timeline and pointed out the same pattern. Systems don't fail in synchrony unless someone intends them to. The 21-minute blackout, the simultaneous camera dropouts, the absence of any breaking or deviation. None of it aligned with the technical malfunction. It aligned instead with interference, possibly deliberate and potentially internal. The bigger question was political. Why had Starmer approved a transfer of high-risk individuals without transparency? Why were warnings from regional officers ignored? And why had ministers chosen to brief the public only after cities were already on fire? A former Home Office official offered a chilling insight during a late-night interview. This government governs by minimizing information. They think the public reacts to facts, but the public reacts to silence far more violently. The consequences were already visible. The disappearance of the 18 was now testing not just operational capacity, but public trust in the state's ability to manage migration and security. It's unfolding. What do you think the government should do next? Share your thoughts below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for the next chapter in Britain's unfolding security crisis.